Dear friends, we are celebrating the fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time. The Gospel for our reflection is taken from Luke chapter 5, verses 1 to 11. Jesus invites in this Gospel Peter and the apostles to be fishers of people. This invitation is often regarded as a metaphor for evangelization and proclamation of the good news. While this is understandable, when we consider the socio-economic implications of this story, we discover something even more radical. Jesus' invitation is also about building subversive communities of resistance and resilience in the midst of imperial economies of exploitation. We know today more than ever there is a divide among the people. Rich people versus poor people. How to bridge that gap? It is through evangelization. Fishing for the fishermen. This is the theme practically of today's gospel. It is worth noting that Jesus begins recruiting his disciples from among those who work at the sea. These laborers were on the lowest level of Rome's hierarchy of occupations, fishing and looking after their families. They owned no land and were forced to pay for both the right to fish on the emperor's lake and the right to sell the fish they caught through a toll exacted on their catch. Their work was physically demanding and dangerous, often leaving them with barely enough money to sustain their families. Their life at the sea was too precarious, uncertain, dangerous. This does not mean we should regard these men in a disdainful way. On the contrary, their painful familiarity with the Roman extractive community made them receptive to Jesus' subversive word and vital agents of his work. When Jesus came upon Peter and his companions washing their nets with no fish in sight, he knew that the only thing filling their nets that day was a debt to the empire that could not be paid. He could see on their faces sadness, desperation, and a kind of exhaustion. But Jesus sees an opportunity here. He tells them to go back out and throw their nets into the deep water. Peter's initial response, of course, to Jesus telling to try again was a skepticism. He is frustrated, tired, depleted. Yet something about Jesus' challenge also sparks a curiosity. Could something be different this time? What might happen? And why not? What did he have to lose? Because Peter had seen by then many miracles. And now, after hauling in not one but two boats worth of fish, Peter suspects that Jesus' challenge wasn't just about the fish. It might have been about his own worth as a person. He declares himself a sinful man, lowest man on the imperial roster. He tells Jesus to stay away from him. You don't want the stink of me on you, Jesus. He is overwhelmed. He is utterly amazed at this point. Dear friends, this amazement leads Jesus to invite them to another kind of fishing. The one who provided real fish can also provide the means and ways of fighting against the corrupt system around them by training them to be real catchers of people with values that the world does not regard as worth. It's from what's around them, a corrupt and rotting system of exploitation, that smears everyone trapped within its net. So he offers an even more intriguing challenge. From now on, you will be catching people. So fishing for people is not about saving souls for Jesus. It's a call to God revolution, for rising up against those who practice idolatry and take advantage of the poor. Amos 2 uses fishing imagery to describe God's response to those who oppress the poor, who crush the needy. We can read it in Amos chapter 4, verse 1. They will be taken away with hooks, even the last of you with fish hooks, says Prophet Amos. Dear friends, this biblical and historical perspective on Luke's story may be shocking to some hearers. For those who have believed that being fishers of people meant inviting people to church, giving out religious reflections, and preaching the radical nature of God's kingdom. That is very true. We get it. But there might also be an opportunity for sparking another type of movement towards God, inspiring people to be humble, just, and righteous and lovable. This would be an ideal opportunity to consider our context and our practical situation around us. Dear friends, we are in a society, wherever we may be. We are also aware of such a lot of corruption, such a lot of injustice around us. To follow Jesus is about a shift in relationships and collective action. Faith-based farm-to-table initiatives that subvert corporate food conglomerates. Casting the net into the deep is going deep into one's faith experience. Net is the grace that is provided through faith. When there is faith and grace, a lot of change can happen within ourselves and invite people to such an experience that liberates them from the worldly things and from the worldly corruption. Following Jesus signifies convinced efforts at living the very life of Jesus in our daily experience. Keeping our focus on Jesus, who knows where the real fish can be found. Our life is not ours. It is Christ who directs us and leads us to obtain what we have been searching in our life. When we cast the net into the deep, turbulent waters of this world, we are sure to gather a lot of people that are groping in darkness, and we will be able to enlighten them, bringing them to the light of Christ. Peter and his fellow fishermen didn't need convincing. They knew that the extraordinary haul of fish was not meant to give them just a bit extra for surviving within the net that held them. It was to demonstrate Jesus' power to flip the net inside out, turn the tables, upend the system, and build something that served their community, not their lords. They were about to learn how to make the network and spread the good news around them. Therefore, dear friends, today, let us pray for this grace during the Holy Eucharist, that the Lord may enlighten us to become fishers of people. And that will help us spread God's kingdom within us and around us. God bless you.